gentlemen, welcome back to the Fatherhood Experience, episode number 4. My name is Dr. D, the Fatherhood Practitioner, CEO and founder of Dad's Doing It. Today we are at Famous Barbershop. I feel again the barbershop is the only place to talk about the things that we're going to be talking about today, which is the Fatherhood Experience as it relates to discipline. I'm going to kick it around the room to the fathers that I got here with me today to introduce themselves.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Thomas Hampton, local realtor, fellow fatherhood advocate.
What's up, people? Mike Larry over here, showing extraordinary father.
I'm Brandon. I'm a barber and extravagant dad.
Extravagant dad, I like that. I like that.
Good evening, Facebook. Junior Bennett, barber at Famous Barbershop.
How you doing, Facebook? Ismael Santiago. I'm in retail management and I'm father of 6 kids.
Derek Johnson, realtor as well, and father to 2 kids. Can't think of anything starts with E. Extravagant, extraordinary, elegant. Kind of eccentric, so I'll rock with that. Eccentric dad. That's my status. That's my go.
Exceptional.
Today we are talking about fatherhood experience as relates to discipline. How we discipline our children, what our children get from that discipline, and things such of that nature, right? So I'm not sure who wants to kick this off first, but what's your idea of discipline? Like, how do you see discipline? What's your philosophy of discipline?
Well, when I think of discipline, Junior had mentioned it earlier, we always think of it as a negative thing, right? Discipline, the first thing I think of discipline is how I was disciplined growing up, which is, if I did something wrong or I talk back, it's physical. And then I, think about how I've been able to learn different ways to implement discipline in my household, which is, with sports, trying new things, or even just things, in school. So it's an interesting perspective with discipline and how people look at it, because I've never looked at discipline in a positive way.
Always negative.
Aside from, like sports and stuff. But we're talking about discipline in the home. I'm thinking about ass whoopings and all that type of stuff. So
All that good stuff. Yeah.
all that good stuff.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So
You
which one?
gotta think, like, somebody is down to do it. You know what I'm saying? So if you have no discipline coming out of the house, and then you're out in the world and you're super disrespectful, or whatever the case may have it, somebody's gonna set you straight. You know what I mean? So the belief was, at least when I was growing up, was plain and simple, like, I'm going to discipline you and take care of all of that right now in the house before I send you out into the world. So that when I do send you out into the world, you know how to act. And you don't have to come home talking about the police beat you up or this or that person. So in my upbringing growing up, that was the reason for the physical discipline. You know what I'm saying? Was, I'm going to set you straight before you go out here and act a fool. Because remember back then it used to be like, when you leave your house, you represent your mother and your father.
Yep.
So what you do outside actually looks bad on them.
People knew you by your parent, by your last name.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
you were Johnson. You
Yeah.
were Phillips. And if you acted out, then that represented the way, maybe your parents made a mistake somewhere along the way.
They would think that's how your parents raised you.
Yeah.
Remember T.K. Kirkland? One of his go-to lines is, "Who raised you?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of like hand in hand with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But is discipline inside the home different from how you would discipline your child out in public?
Sometimes,
Very much so.
yeah, and it depends on who you are.
Yeah, it's funny because to the bigger theme of what is discipline, and I think Thomas, like you were saying, for me, like, it's just different now. Like, I think it's different with everybody in the room. Our discipline versus what our kids have as discipline. That's we've talked about that a lot, and I think basically what it boils down to, well, we try to keep it easy. I try to keep it easy. My wife tries to keep it easy, right? And it, like Larry, what you were saying, like, it is definitely a reflection because I still have that as well. You know, I was JJ's kid growing up. I wasn't Derek, right? In a lot of people's eyes, and that still stays.
Steve Johnson's kid.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't want Brooklyn to be Derek's kid. I don't want Avery to be Derek's kid. I want them to have their own identity. But at the same time, I want them to represent themselves and to represent me when they do step out of that house.
Because they're coming from good soil.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So that to me is like the work in progress, right? And to have them represent you when they come out of the house, to have them represent themselves when they walk out of that house, have their head held high and know how to act, right? Because that's like I'm borderline terrified of raising like asshole kids. Excuse my French.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's like a genuine fear.
Absolutely.
Because it's everything that you just said. It's like I don't want that to fall back on me. Yes, selfishly, but more importantly, it's gonna catch up with them somewhere. Because if it's not me that's telling them how to act, somebody will. Like you said, somebody will in one form or another. So it may not be physical, but someone is going to put them in line down the line, right? And I would rather that person be me.
Or get that negative first impression when they're dealing with it.
Yeah, just have that tone.
Because we all know first impressions are real.
Yep.
People say it's not, but it's real.
Yeah.
You can only do that once.
Yeah. So actually, Fred, you said something. You said, you know, it depends. And discipline at home versus discipline in public.
Yeah, it depends because when you're at the house, of course you're a little bit more lax and you're not on display in front of the public, things like that. But what's going on in the world now, people see you in public, kind of look at you. If you pop your kid or something like that, you kind of it's a bad look.
Yeah.
As a whole.
Somebody calling the police.
Yeah. First impression, they just like, oh, I hit him, you know, because somebody that's outside of the public may do different with their kids, and that may be something new to them.
Yeah.
So you really have to be mindful of how you discipline your kids, especially when it's physical. At the house, you probably sit down, you know, with no thought to it. And it's just, it's different. You know, you have an audience when you're in work.
But you compare it to that audience. I know Junior about to say something. Just by his look. I know he's about to say
Let me
something.
branch off of that because you had mentioned the audience.
Yeah.
When we talked about how our kids go out into the world and they're representing our home,
Yeah.
when we're outside with our kids, we're representing our home.
Yeah.
So our actions and how we respond to disciplining our kids in public is showing every single person in there or around us how we carry ourselves in our home.
Yeah.
It's a showing the example, right?
Yeah.
Now I just want to be very clear, at the end of the day, to an extent, we really shouldn't care what other people think or you know, judgment or whatever, but I think the most important part is how you're because at the end of the day, if you're out with your kids, you're the leader. And if you're out there acting wild and being crazy and, you know, out of order, right? People are gonna, what kind of dad is this? What, you know, they're gonna start questioning you, right? So, you know, I agree with, you know, discipline is different outside of the home because at the end of the day, we're all representing each other. This is our family, right? You got the Johnson family, you know what I mean? So when I'm out there with my son, you know, and Noah's acting a fool, sometimes it's taken to a side and be like, look, we're in the store right now.
Yeah.
That's not the type of energy we're having right now.
See, but what I got before going to the store was the talk. You better not touch nothing. I ain't buy nothing. You better not look at nothing. Right? That's what I got going into the store. So I knew when I got into the store, especially with my aunties. I knew when I got into the store, especially with my one auntie. I won't say her name, but you know who she is, right? Especially with my one auntie was, you better not touch nothing. I ain't buy you nothing because you ain't getting nothing. And then we all decided to act a fool in the store. Acting a fool in the store. What'd you get? I got the look.
Yeah.
And I knew what that meant.
Right, yeah.
I just knew what that meant. I better act up. I mean, I better get my act in line. You know what I'm saying?
So
I knew that.
So I never had to go through that.
Yeah.
I have 6 kids. I used to take them all shopping with me, and if I said no, we're not getting that today, it was okay. We're not getting that today. I never dealt with that.
You got some good kids.
I had 6 very well-disciplined kids. Not disciplined as in I had to beat them or anything, but just disciplined as in they didn't create that show. They didn't.
But did you do that though?
When when I was a kid,
Yeah, did you create that show?
I don't think I did actually. My mother always told me I was a good kid until I got older. And I don't even think I was a bad older kid. I didn't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I never really had to deal with that. You know that. You know what? You guys know what I'm talking about. You see these kids and it's like, oh, that little kid is lucky they're not my kid.
Yeah.
Because that's the kid where you're just gonna have to, sometimes you might have to just grab them, like you said, grab them to the side. Maybe you squeeze their arm a little bit so they, cut it out.
Yeah.
Right,
Talk when you get home. Cut it out.
I got the pinch, right?
Yeah.
Pinch,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm not really into the physical pain. I'm more of a talker.
Yeah.
And not only am I a talker, but I'm let's say excuse me, I'm tripping over my words.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm an emotional talker sometimes. So when I'm angry, regardless of whether I'm yelling or talking, you can tell I'm angry.
Yeah.
And,
Told.
and sometimes with my kids, for example, I gotta ask them to do something a bunch of times, but they don't like when I get towards the tail end of that. They don't like when I yell.
Yeah.
I
They
believe,
think that's horrible.
not to
They're like,
interrupt you,
yeah.
but within what you're saying, I believe how you bond with your child also determines the level of discipline.
Yeah.
Because if you have a bond with your child, in those cases, you need to speak to him, say something to
Good
him
point.
with a certain type of tone, and that will
That's a great point, because that's how it is with my son. Noah really and I know they always say the second child, is totally different, but I kind of got lucky.
It's true. It is.
I got lucky with Noah because he listens for the most part.
Mhm.
But I think it's a big part because at the time I took the relationship to build with him, because if we're out in public, for an example, at his mom's house, they're at Walmart, he gets anything he wants.
The whole parenting stuff.
Yeah, because
It's very
when mom discipline is different from
Right, exactly.
dad's discipline.
But for me, I stand on my ground. Anytime we're out and he's asking, "Oh, can I have this? Can I have this?" and I'm like, "No, not today. Maybe next time."
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I learned. Right, my mom used to give me the talk too, and sometimes we get a little crazy in the stores. But for him, I was like, "Hey, not today. Maybe next time." He's like, "All right, cool." So I know it's not the same for everyone, but again, it's that bond I think is a huge part. Is because if you have
that
that,
starts at a very young age,
right.
like
If you have that certain relationship with your kids, they'll, it's like,
So-
okay, Dad, no worries.
So, but how are we, because obviously, discipline comes from your own perspective. We get our own perspective from the things that we went through, right? Our own experiences. What was your experiences growing up as relates to discipline? Like, how were you disciplined growing up? And the reason why I asked that,
In what aspect?
I only have one well, actually, I got a couple of memories. I got one memory when I was young of all of us getting a family whooping with a belt. And I might have brought this up the last episode.
Family.
We were all getting whipped. And then I hadn't gotten whipped yet. And I remember I was small. I remember trying to hide behind one of those house speakers. You know how the stereo systems work back when
Yeah, the speakers like
the house
huge
speaker.
thing.
Yeah, so I tried to hide behind that. And then that didn't matter. My mom still hit me with the
How old
belt.
were you?
she come
I
around.
was probably like 4 or 5 years old.
4 or 5 years old, and how old do you know?
I'm 43.
And why do you think that experience stuck with you?
Because I remember getting whooped with that.
Yeah.
It was
that's
a
what-
traumatic
Exactly. There
experience.
you go.
wrapping around the corner of that speaker.
see, and I try to block this out because Thomas just hit on something, trauma. And oftentimes you can't really block out trauma, but I try to. So, like, prior to living with my grandparents
That was a traumatic experience.
for
No, the physical is very traumatic.
It is, but there's always a lesson from traumatic experiences as well, right? So for me, prior to living with my grandparents, I was raised by a very abusive stepfather, and he was a military guy. He was in the military, and he's the one that taught me yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and I almost like tear up when I talk about this a little bit, but I learned my ABCs. Like, remember you used to walk into a kindergarten classroom, you had the white ABCs across, like, around the room, right? The tape around the room. I learned my ABCs. He sat me down, pulled out that white tape, and every time I said A, C, I skipped B, I got hit with the belt, right? His was not discipline, it was abuse.
Yeah.
That was clearly abuse. But what I took from the abuse is that he was very instrumental in me being respectful. You know, like people always say, you're very very respectful. Like even the people that I know, I always still come across as yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I remember sitting with a lady down south. I was actually a feet we were somewhere older with my kids. And the lady was like, manners will get you in places that your degree won't get you. You know, manners would get you in places that nothing else would get you into. And I'm like, I'm not happy that I went through that experience, but I'm happy that the experience turned out to make me more respectful.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what you went through is what molded you to who you are today.
Yeah.
So,
but it hurt.
Yeah.
But that is the epitome of discipline. It hurts, but it shapes you to go about the world.
But the negative thing. So here goes the negative thing. When my kids act up, I don't hit them. I don't do like that. But when they act up, my first reaction is to get militant.
Yeah.
Like Dante, sit down. Sayera, sit down. Instead of, okay, what's going on here? My first reaction is to get militant, and then I have to take a step back.
Yeah.
Because again, I was raised like that for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think it's helpful. And you said something a couple weeks ago there that stuck with me. You were like, I don't have the ace in my pocket no more.
Right.
You know, and the ace for me was like I was gonna get my ass whooped.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not healthy, but it worked.
Yeah.
Let's put this into perspective, because you are an example of someone who experienced that and was actually able to grow from it. But we fail to recognize all the men out there who struggle, who have no awareness of some of their trauma and what is influencing a lot of their actions today, right? A lot of these guys are imprisoned. A lot of these guys are struggling on the street with addiction, right? These are people who have traumatic experiences. So we're seeing an example
But
here.
even that talk is like, I have some strong implicit biases.
Yep.
What implicit bias? Like the unconscious connections that we make when we see something, right? I have really strong implicit bias and explicit biases when it comes to men who put their hands on women.
Yeah.
I saw that growing up. Men who put their hands on kids, because I was a victim of that, you know, growing up. Men who put their hands on elderly. I have a strong bias against that. When I come across people like that, I have to take a step back to say, gee, like some trauma is coming up now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because of the way I was raised. So I have to catch myself with that. You know? And it's bad. It's self-awareness. But it relives some of that stuff I saw growing up.
Absolutely.
And I try to block it out as much as I can.
So in psychology, there's an example that they put out there, right? You're raised in a home with a parent who's a strong smoker, right? There's 2 kids in the house. One kid is probably gonna inherit and be that strong smoker, and there's another kid who's like, I hate smoke. I can't be around it. I don't want to be around it, right? So they grow up not smoking, though they can't even be around it because it makes them nauseous. It's something that, you know, it's bringing back experiences that they grew up with. And then you have the other person who's a strong, heavy smoker, right? So we also have to recognize that, for an example, I'll use myself as an example. I would be in fistfights with my mom all the way to the age of 12. We would fight. Right? At the age of 2, I was tossed across the room from my dad because I got in the middle of an altercation that my dad and mom got into. This is all things that I was surrounded by. So most of my childhood, I was surrounded by violence. That is how I learned how to handle my emotions, right? And again, when we talk about subconscious, think about the first window of learning as a child, 0 through 7. Right? We're not making decisions on our own, right? We're learning until we get to that second stage of learning, but our first stage is only our subconscious. It's just the sponge. Everything that is around us, everything that's being said, everything that's being in front of us, we're inheriting that, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, I recognized that, man, this is not a life I want to be living, or I don't want to have my son feel the way I felt at times when I was getting whooped or whatever it might be. So I was the person who saw the smoke and was like, man, I don't have anything to do with that, right? So we have to recognize that there are people who will take the opportunity. Okay. We'll take the opportunity to see examples that we really don't want or repeat. And then there are people who don't have that awareness, who will subconsciously, right, undealt with trauma, taking actions without even thinking about it because it's automatic, it's what we know, it's what we learn, it's what we're familiar with, is those people running into that road of, you know, hitting their wife or...
That's the person that'll say, no, sorry, not
okay. Yeah.
That's the person that'll say, that's just how I was raised. That's what I went through.
Right.
It worked for me, and not understanding the things that you've understood, and not doing the growth that you've grown, you've done and everything. So like, you know,
At what point do we say, all right, even though I didn't know better, like the natural tendency for people, for humans, is that we want to be, we don't want to be hurt.
Yeah.
Like we seek pleasure. You know what I'm saying? Like humans naturally seek pleasure.
Yeah.
So like hitting people, that's the painful part of that. So
what about the person that hitting somebody?
it's pleasure. I say to that, what about when people always say when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Right? And people always say, well, that's the way I was raised, so I'm gonna do status quo. At what point do you say that's just an excuse, that's a crutch?
Yeah.
I think it depends on what road they want to go up, because I agree with what Thomas is saying, that you're going to have those people that are going to learn good or bad. They're either going to learn that's bad, or they're going to learn, hey,
It's just what I know.
Exactly.
Well, if you don't have a mother or a father,
We all do.
if no one didn't, at 2 years old, we're getting raised by, let's say, our grandparents, never picked up a basketball before. How do you discipline a child to dribble a basketball?
It's not discipline, it's teaching.
It's not discipline?
It's teaching.
What's the difference?
I'm lost on your point.
Well, discipline,
What's the difference?
so teaching is taking the kid outside, practicing, taking him to the park, spending that quality time, teaching him how to shoot, dribble, right? Discipline is doing it every day.
Yeah, noun versus verb, I think is what you're talking about.
No, you're wrong.
Discipline is doing it every day, or on a consistent basis, or at the end of the day, if we're going about shooting and they're like, hey, I don't really like this. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well, what else do you like? Oh, I like soccer.
How do you
Okay.
discipline yourself to play basketball?
Practice. Practice makes progress.
Well,
So is that teaching?
well, it depends.
Well, teaching is.
1 second.
I think teaching is more detailed.
Okay.
Right? I can teach how to
What is the
shoot.
meaning of discipline and what is the meaning of teaching?
Teaching, alright, so let's just talk about basketball for a second, right? I can teach you how to shoot. Okay, well, elbow straight.
No
Make
one
sure
ever showed you how to
come
do it before.
up. Well,
That's
I'm
why I said you didn't have a
well,
parent.
what I'm
you didn't
saying
have a
is,
parent.
what I'm saying
You
is,
discipline a
I'm
child
the
to do something
parent
they've never done before.
teaching versus
Teach.
discipline, right? I'm the one teaching versus what discipline looks like. Discipline is saying, alright, no, it's 6 a.m., let's go shoot 30 shots.
Or,
Right,
good job.
Hold on.
Or
good job.
teaching.
Let me interject to help you out. Discipline on the basketball court would be more like, all right, we're running a play, everybody run this play, boom, and everybody's going half-ass. People, D's walking, Eric is looking this way.
Yeah.
You blow your whistle. All right, y'all want to walk around? Everybody get on the line.
Yeah.
5 suicides. That's how you discipline on the basketball court.
Yeah, but
Teaching-
Right, but
is that the discipline that Junior's talking about? Because that's the
I
coach
think so.
disciplining the
I think
players
I-
for not doing what
the
they
kind
want.
of
If I was,
But to Thomas's point, well, I think this is Thomas's point, and it's part of Junior's point, you gotta teach the kid to put the elbow up. Now, the kid needs to have the discipline to always keep that elbow.
Now.
Keep that elbow.
all right, now, you teach the kid to have the elbow up. You notice he's shooting this way, this way. Guess what, son? You're gonna sit here and you're gonna do this 100 times with this hand. You're gonna do this 100 times with this hand.
That's right.
That's teaching and discipline.
Yeah.
If he keeps doing
They
it
can
wrong,
hand
It
in.
still goes down
he
to
keeps doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So you're gonna teach him the right way by discipline.
And discipline
Same
is
thing.
doing the 30 shots one hand, doing the 30 shots second hand.
No, the discipline is making him do it. You actually doing it.
So the definition of what you're trying, what you get into is discipline is taking corrective action to fix a behavior.
No.
Okay, go ahead, please explain.
I honestly think, hold on, that you guys aren't wrong, but I don't think you're totally right. Larry, with you're teaching someone how to play basketball or shoot basketball. If your arm's out like this, you teach them how to shoot a basketball.
Yeah.
Discipline is getting a broom, hitting his elbow to make sure his elbow don't go out that way.
Yeah, that's still teaching.
It's discipline.
Like the nuns in school back in the day, right?
Teach them
Back,
how to
did you
shoot
win something?
basketball.
Walk and lie.
But look at the study.
It depends on the person, because
You're right.
that could be discipline to you, but that also could be teaching. That's
Exactly.
a
But the
form
thing is,
of teaching.
when I first asked what's the difference between teaching and discipline, there is a huge difference in a different aspect of teaching or discipline a kid,
With methods.
and even an adult, a method. Like Larry said,
Are you
if
speaking
I
of-
know, if I'm that chicken crossing the street to try to get to the other side, there's gonna be a disciplinary action to make sure I don't get hit. The teaching is, don't cross. That's the teaching. If anyone ever knew that, to get to the other side of the road, that's not the teaching. The teaching is don't cross the road if you don't know what's on the other side to get there. The discipline is to keep that chicken nailed. The discipline with kids is not always negative, it's positive, what I brought up before, but to discipline a kid, does he have to have the teaching first? Absolutely. A kid can say the alphabet A to Z and not know the letters in between. That might be teaching. Discipline, no, well, after A comes B, after B comes C. And like D says, oh, you don't know B? Boom, start over again. A, B, oh, discipline. Hey, you want a basketball game? Hey, discipline. Is that teaching because he won the game, or is it discipline because what he learned from his parents?
I'm recognizing that we will all have different perspectives and experiences around discipline.
Yeah.
Junior, it's interesting, the broom on the elbow or the tapping on the arm and every time reminds me of an experience I had, when I was younger. I struggled in school to learn in school because how I was being, the discipline I had at home with learning at home. And what that was sitting down, reading a book to my mom, and every time I messed up a word, it was like an explosion, So what was that teaching me as a kid? Well, man, I can't make mistakes, right? Well, what's interesting about the tapping on the arm and the, broomstick to the elbow, I'm not sure if you know about this, but there was a study in psychology with a dog, right? And it was...
Tuning fork, right? With
the shock or yeah. So anytime, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as I remember, anytime the dog would want to go to the treat or to this, he'd get shocked.
Yeah.
And throughout time, he learned, he saw the treat that he wanted, but he didn't want it because he didn't want to get the pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what that reminded me of.
But at the end of that, like we said, it don't always have to be negative. But with the teaching of learning how to shoot a basketball, discipline and how to keep your elbow straight goes hand in hand.
Sure.
And at the end of that teaching and the discipline might come an NBA trophy where that discipline paid off. But that's why I was saying it's not always got to be, excuse my language.
Yeah.
Or JC, or my daughter Jayla, or G, or soccer, whatever,
Yeah.
Don't always gotta be like that, but I'm a strong believer of discipline. Back when I was raised, they dared us to call the cops. Go ahead. And they go to your friend's house, and their parents call the cops. We're getting disciplined right there and then. And so disciplining our kids now, our kids are the questions that are asking us. Damn, mommy, I'm gonna call the cops. Where's the discipline come in from 40 years ago to now? Before, we didn't need cops. Now, kids are calling cops. That's us being pussy parents, not disciplining our kids and teaching them the right and the wrong way about the way they have to deal with different scenarios and situations.
Well,
My God, let me give you one more. When I first got diagnosed with diabetes, and I just learned this from you, I was about 9 or 10, maybe 8 years old. My dad and mom had sent me to Boston Joslin Clinic for almost 2 weeks. They taught me how to inject myself with insulin, take my tests, acetone. Back then we had to pee in a cup, get an eyedropper, put it on a test strip, and put it and see what, and we had to estimate what our blood sugar was. It wasn't like nowadays where they tell you it's 121.5 or whatever it is. But back then I got out of the hospital, I was like 9 and 10 years old, I said my dad's floor and my mom's short later. I got out and I'm at the table and I'm drawing insulin out. And I was scared to death. Scared to death of giving myself an injection of insulin that I needed. I didn't want to do it in front of my dad because I thought I was going to do it the wrong way. Because I knew what he was going to do if I didn't. After they spent thousands of dollars sending me to a diabetic school that I should have learned. Got down there to vial insulin, drew it, didn't want to give myself a shot. My mother gave it to me, and my dad was yes. Spent all this effort money, teach you how to do this. He didn't teach me. The school taught me. And I still didn't learn because I was a kid. I didn't know that. But the disciplinary action from my dad, he wanted to say, man, listen, my son don't know that. And it hurt. And so when I go from speaking now at 51, from teaching and from discipline, it's huge for me. So anytime we bring up a subject here from when I was growing up until now, and whether on Facebook or now, I call all parents now pussy parents. Because the discipline is reacted or pro-reacted from what we heard on the radio and from our phones.
Yeah, but why that story that you told is so traumatic and so that resonated with you. Like I feel your story 100%. So my thing is, why would I want to put myself through why would I want to be your dad in that situation?
Because the way he was raised back then, it was that way or no way.
But that's not the case now.
Exactly. So the transition between discipline when I was raised until the kids are raised now is dramatic. So my man.
But am I a pussy parent because I don't want
No, not saying you personally.
But
it's the whole dramatic stage from parenting then until parenting now, where parents are now like, if they don't want their kids, give it to the grandparents. That's pussy parenting to me. There's discipline, discipline enough in the house where the mother, the grandmother, should say, hey, no, you made this child, you do it. And us as grandparents, because we love our kids so much, we're the suckers bringing them in and say, these are my grandkids with no discipline with kids.
That's a big hop, though, from your story to dropping your kids off at the grandparents.
It's not.
But
it's
how?
not. When you think about it, it's really not.
Where's the connection, though? Because I genuinely, like I said, that's
the connection is when we were parents back then, or my parents, they really disciplined their own parenting. They were their own teachers then. They didn't have us. You know what they had? They had the Sentinel Enterprise newspaper and reading Dear Abby. That's what they had. Unless they went to school and got the books. They didn't have everything around us. And they're saying, hey, this is the way maybe might be a little bit different if you parent this way. You know what they did it from? They did it from their generation, where they got whooped. And they got it from here. And not saying we should whoop our kids, but I'm not saying we should be so far off from letting them go to do nothing. That's why I say pussy parent. Not you per se, but any of us in here.
I get it, yeah.
But we're letting our kids go and do whatever we want. Where's your 16-year-old kid now?
Run their parents.
I don't know what 18-year-old. Do you know what 18-year-old kid is right now? I have no idea, unless for a phone. She's 19.
But and I think this is what Derek's going to is that how do we still get that without that?
Well, sometimes that is warranted.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, I have a little stage to my discipline. You know what I mean? My kids do something wrong. Alright. Obviously, first thing I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Let me chill, let me relax. Maybe my daughter doesn't know. I give them that benefit of the doubt. You didn't know. That's why you disrespected like that. That's why you talked to me and mom. You didn't know. I never told you before. I don't like that. Don't do it. I'm serious. So I take this time, this little bit of time out of both of our lives. I'm gonna teach. Listen, what you said, it wasn't cool. It was disrespectful. Now I think that you didn't know that, so that's why you kind of let it go. So now that you know that I don't like it, it's disrespectful. If you do it again, now I know that you're blatantly disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Fortunately for my kids, it has a need to go past that. That teaching lesson is enough for them. Yeah. But there's some times when that's warranted. You know what I'm saying? Like, the kid is not gonna listen. All right, Dad told me to give you the lookout. All right, cool. Bang, disrespect. You know what I'm saying? And now you're like, so what? I'm gonna tell you again. I'm gonna tell you a third time. I'm gonna tell you a fourth time, fifth time. No. So now a pop or two or whatever might be needed. Everybody's kids is different.
Yeah.
Your kid might listen to everything, like your words might be the belt.
Enough.
You know what I'm saying? There's kids, and I know we have friends that's like, my dad and mom used to beat me back in the day. And that shit, I go right back outside and play. And that's why that one needs a bit of a
No, for sure.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think it's important to recognize that, you know, every kid's gonna be different.
You
right?
can't discipline your kid
And
without.
And it would be a mistake to say that all our kids are the same, right?
Yeah.
They're all different. They all have different personalities. I think, Brandon, what you said earlier is worth re-mentioning right now, which is the relationship with your kid, bond, right? Because, you know, Larry, you shared experiences where like, oh, you wouldn't even dare do that, right? Or because your mom was, you know, whatever it might be, right?
Listen, if
So-
you want me to share, I'll share some experiences.
Well, what I'm trying to get to, and I'm sure you have, there's a lot of
I'll share some
experiences.
experiences.
But what
I'll
I'm
talk about some true
what I'm trying to
facts.
say is, you know, there was a certain relationship that you had, and there was a certain boundary or line that, you know, your mom or dad had put out there when you knew not to cross that, right? You know, and I think a big part of that has to do with the relationship that you have with your dad or your mom, whatever it might be, right? For me, I was super stubborn. My mom put her foot down a lot. We got very physical. So I wasn't the one who, you know, I always tested that boundary. I was a very tough kid to raise. So, you know, I just think it's fair to just say, you know,
Are you the baby? Are you
Huh?
the baby of your siblings?
No, I'm oldest.
Okay.
Thomas, when you say you get really physical,
Yeah.
you grew up and realized that's not how I want to be.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people that don't have the discipline to do that. It goes to that other where I think me and Thomas were in line where we say out of that traumatic experience, you're either gonna learn this or this. So in Thomas's situation, it was a positive learning for him where he recognized I don't want to be like that. There's gonna be other folks when they get into that adult life or whenever the fighting, whenever Thomas realized I can't keep doing this, some people don't realize I can't keep doing this, and then they just keep doing that behavior, not understanding that it's wrong.
Because it's
You know?
familiar.
It's exactly, it's what they know.
So how do you discipline your kid from stealing out of Marshalls? Or how do you discipline or teach your kid?
Can I tell you?
get caught disciplined out of stealing out of Marshalls?
Can I tell you?
Or hanging with the kid
Can I
that's
tell you
stealing
my
out of Marshalls.
Yeah.
Or the crowd. Go ahead.
When I
Larry,
was,
want to take this one?
listen, when I was like
Yeah,
8,
story
9 years
yourself.
old, listen, let me tell you something. When I was like 8, 9 years old, first of all, to go back a little bit, my mom was the best booster around. She done taught people how to get down and all. I'm being serious. She was the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, the best. You know what I mean? I would be with her when she was doing some of the things, all of that stuff. So, subconsciously or consciously, she taught me how to steal, right? Fast forward a few months, I'm in, what's the store that Market Basket is now? That's Stewart's? Stewart's. I'm in Stewart's.
Old school Fitchburg.
Let me try this out. I'm in the toy section. I see these Ninja Turtles and shit that I want. I'll never forget. These Ninja Turtles, I think it was Michelangelo and I think Donatello, right? So, boom, I'm in the aisle. Take the shit. So, hold on, let me think. I'm not gonna steal here. We're going to the next aisle. So I go in the next aisle. Doing all this stupid shit, you know what I'm saying? Little do I know, I left one aisle from out of the frame, straight directly under the camera. so I'm trying to leave. Stop me and all that shit. I get driven home by the police. Man, your son was caught shoplifting. Boom, bam, bam. Alright, thank you, officer. Boom. Let me tell you this. I got the ass whooping of the century. You know what I'm saying? There was
You go on.
there was a wooden broom he had that was about this thick. Wooden broom, solid wood. You know what I'm saying? My mother tore the flesh off my back. I'm talking about by the end of that whooping, I was saying my name was Toby. You understand what I'm saying? Literally, like I had welts all over my shit. It was definitely the worst ass whooping I ever got in my whole life. But you know what? Never stole again. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's warranted.
It was the first.
Sometimes it's needed. Had I not get that ass whooping like that, who knows what I would have been trying to steal.
So now you take that situation, and now you, the younger version of you, is hanging out with your son, your daughter, and your son and daughter come home talking about what that kid just did, right? Or better yet, they're with you.
All right.
Are you going to discipline that child, or are you going to call that child's parents?
If that
How's
kid
that
is-
conversation going to happen?
So if that kid is with me and that kid is stealing, all right, he's with me. It's
Yeah.
like my responsibility. It's my responsibility, just as if that kid was with me and something happened, God forbid, and he just fell down and died. That's my responsibility. He was with you. What happened? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, he's stealing when he's with me. Yeah, come over here. Listen, I don't know what you be doing with your mama. I don't know what y'all got going on, but we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? You have to. You can't go in this world just being your kid's friend.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
I think
It's not gonna work. Listen, it's not gonna work. I know people today that is just more worried about, oh, they're gonna call, like Junior said, they're gonna call the police. DCF is gonna come knocking at my door. People are worried about being their kid's friend and sitting here drinking and smoking with their kids. Their kids is in junior high or high school. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, we have to be parents. We have to be stern. There's 7 billion people out in the world where your kids can make friends. You know what I'm saying? Out of those 7 billion, a lot of those people are not going to tell your son, listen, no, hey, take your foot off that ledge. You know what I'm saying? Most of the people are going to be like this, jump, do it. You know what I'm saying?
we keep going to
No,
one.
we're
No,
staying-
no,
we're
no.
staying
We're
in the
going
right-
from one extreme to another extreme.
We're
You know what I
talking
mean? But
discipline.
at the end of the day, at the end of the day, I agree with you with we're not our kid's best friend, right? There's that fine line, but also I think at the end of the day for me, right? Because my question to you would be, well, you stole because there was an example that you saw, which then influenced your actions, right?
Yeah, I guess
Okay. So, and then you got the ass whooping, and then you never did it again, right?
Because I knew I made that decision, that choice. Guess what? I don't want that ass whooping again. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier about people in prison. And I was like, man, because it's all your choice. It's your decision.
Of course, 100%.
It doesn't matter if you was whipped.
100%.
It doesn't matter if you was whipped. It doesn't matter if you was abused. At some point in your life, you're going to say, hey, either I want to keep going that route or I don't.
Right. But
We can't say the person that continues to go that route, we can't say, oh, he was traumatized, that's why he could never get. No. To make that
right,
choice.
but that's not an excuse, though. I'm not saying that as an excuse. What I'm saying is that there are people like this gentleman here who, like Demetrius, who will have that awareness. But there are people who have had traumatic experiences, and this is not an excuse, I want to be clear, who decide, well, this is what I know. This is what I'm familiar with. I don't know anything outside of taking the time to think back and be like, and I don't want this anymore. Because, at the end of the day, sometimes it takes for the person to be locked up, unfortunately, for 20 years, to be like, dang, this sucks, But that was at the end of the day, it comes down to your choices. Yes, you're fully in control. I totally believe that. It's not an excuse for where people are in life. What I'm trying to say is, our actions come from something.
So let's take this is perfect program too. Let's take the whole John Moran situation, right? What Larry just said, right? Like you got a couple chances here. You know what I'm saying? Like he got caught the first time. You know what I'm saying? A couple times. Okay, so let's take the perspective of the NBA has policies and procedures that say you're not supposed to do this.
Yeah.
All right?
Listen, your
It's like
work site has a policy that you shouldn't.
But I have to do a lot of editing this
Sometimes you
video.
can't- sometimes you can't even say hi to a female coworker because that can have a wrong way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Policy
saying?
in the NDA is if you're only gun in the NDA, you have to let the NDA know you brandish a gun. That's the rule, number one rule in the NDA. If any player has a gun, you have to let the NDA know before the team knows. And before the team knows, the parents know. And as a discipline, I don't think, so John Moran's parents weren't together, let's get that out there.
See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Ja Morant's parents.
Because every video I see is him and his dad
With his
doing his
dad.
thing.
Right. Because his dad
John Moran's dad raised him.
raised him.
I thought he was raised by both parents.
I don't know exactly how it was, but I know.
He lived with the dad.
I don't know exactly. I know they weren't together. Okay. And even at that, I'm not 200% sure because I'm reading what everyone else is reading. So. But if the parents aren't together and then we're back on discipline, your son, the father and the mother, it's not the father. You're a basketball game getting thrown out. What kind of discipline are you showing your son?
Yep.
You're getting thrown out, not out of one game, several. You didn't see him hanging out with clubs while he was under 21. What kind of discipline you set for your child? The mom is calling her son for help at a finish line in a mall because the attendant gave her a hard time. The son comes down, what he do is brandishing guns, doing it to security, whatever. That's the mom's fault. Your son is getting ready to sign a $251 million contract in 5 years of work. $250 million. And as a parent, a disciplinary parent, you're gonna put your son on the line and your dad to come down here and help out something that you thought some finish line worker, probably a teenager, maybe going to college, maybe gave you an attitude because you didn't have the right size, and you're gonna call your son? That's parenting. That's bad parenting. Bad disciplinary parenting. 250 million. I'm not saying, and me and Larry talk about this all the time, and I'm 100% with Larry. I'm gonna protect my mother. I don't get what you say. But if I'm 19 and my mom knows that I'm gonna be doing something better, and maybe down the road I might be teaching my kids something better,
You would think.
I might not want to pick up that phone and call my son and say, hey, get your ass down here with your boys and
Yeah, but
mess
that's
this dude
probably
up.
why he's in the situation
No,
he's
but
in.
here it is. The
Because it's-
very topic of our conversation was mental health. No one was saying he had mental health when he was a young kid or teenager. It's only when he brandished a gun that we go back and use this disciplinary action and say, hey, you know what? We can't use ADHD. Guess what? Let's use mental health capacity that Morant has a gun and not blame it on the parents.
But was it
Come on now.
mental health or
No, that's what they're saying now.
some now?
One quick question. Name one mental health John Morant had before he was in the NBA. Can anyone answer that?
Yeah, but maybe that was something that
And one quick question is, did anyone know of any mental health incapacity that John Morant had before he went to the NBA?
No, but on your note, it is
on the rest though.
no, it is a way for like the media to kind of like persuade or manipulate the narrative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I think, you know, to answer your question, I think the fact of going from a small town school to the face of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, getting 60 million followers on Instagram, getting $250 million thrown at you, growing up in front of the public eye, having teammates, having the responsibilities of carrying an entire city on your back, having to win, 58 games in the West versus
LeBron, look at LeBron.
I know, but what I'm saying is having all of that happen within 24 months, yeah, that might change
Check this out.
something
Check
for
this out.
mental health. I would go
What
nuts.
Larry had said about his son a couple minutes ago, and he says, my son don't know. But I'm gonna sit down and show him the first time. The next time he's messing with me, you sit your goddamn son down there and you explain to him.
I agree.
Listen,
I hate
you're
John
gonna be
Morant's
making
dad.
some, you're gonna be making some money.
I agree. I think I've been so like watching that situation from afar was irritating because I was yelling at the screen at his dad. I was yelling at the screen like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? So, but I think both can coexist. I think
Yeah.
you can have
Yeah.
what John Morant is going through,
But look,
but not having that proper influence and that
We're
proper
talking
discipline to sort of expand it.
we're
We're
talking
blaming it on
about.
something else other than disciplinary parenting. But that we're blaming it on mental health.
Listen
So
to
it can
this.
be both. But I think
We're talking about a
Right.
kid with millions of dollars. And I say kid because in the eyes of God, in the eyes of the Bible, you're still like innocent under the age of 25.
Yeah.
The guy is 23, so we're still talking about a kid
My
that
daughter's older than him.
went from nothing to having millions of dollars.
Right.
I ain't no kid, but if tomorrow I got 250, I'm out there, bro, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's just being young and reckless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think sometimes, depending on who has, whatever it might be, money just exposes who you truly are.
We're
But
past.
here's what I want to get to. Here's what I want to talk about, right? And I don't know the facts. I don't know John Morant to nothing, right? I only know him by the conversation we've had. I know he's a basketball player. So let's just say what you're saying about, his parents is accurate,
Mine's a
right?
23-year-old kid. With
Okay.
$1,000
Got it. So, accurate, right? His mom's calling. It sounds like from the story, his mom called his son and to bring his boys down to take care of something, right?
4 times she did that.
4 times. Okay. So what's interesting is that when I hear things like that, and then I hear things about the dad acting out or whatever he is at basketball games, like this is the example. These are the people who raised him. This is the example he has, right? So here's the thing: if what you're saying about him living in a household where he was maybe raised by one parent or maybe didn't have a close relationship with another or whatever it might be, sometimes think about the kids who join gangs. Sometimes they don't have the support system or the support they need, so they go out and find it, right? So if we're talking about him having a gun and being around these people, for me, it sounds like he's trying to find a way to be validated.
Yeah.
Because at home it ain't happening. And his mom's calling him to bring down some goons to take care of some crazy business, putting all his business at risk. Then his dad is acting out, not recognizing that your son has a business, and this can change all of our lives here. We're all putting it at risk. So for me, I go back at the home. The examples are right in front of us right here. He's a young kid, just like you said, and for me, in my perspective, I think he's trying to find some validation, and unfortunately, it's in a crowd that some could be influencing his actions, putting him around
Absolutely.
guns,
Somebody.
different things,
Or just he's influencing his own actions. He's a leader of whoever's around.
As a Morant,
Good.
a Morant's parent, if I was his parent, father, no matter what I did in the past and this, that, I would actually, and Larry, you hit me up with a good point, to sit your child down. Because what you don't know, you don't know. You sit him down. And you ask him this question: listen, son, I tried to raise you the best I can. Now I need you to discipline me. You're going to be making all this money. I helped you. Discipline me to make sure that you're going to make the right decision, and I don't.
But based on the example,
that's-
based on the example that we talked about John Morant's dad, who he is not that.
So can I just
It
say,
doesn't mean he can't ask
So-
But you can't expect someone with not that
No,
level
no,
of
no.
awareness to
Hold
have
on.
the
As his
conversation.
parent,
Yeah.
you're John Morant, I'm your parent. I sit you down, John, listen, my man, you top 10 NBA. Now I need you to help me and just talk to me. Because I'm being a fool now. I'm being a fool off you. Now I need you to discipline me and let me know
Sure.
that I can't do
What
this.
you're saying is,
Man, that's manhood right there.
Yeah,
That's something right there. To say, son, I need your help now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
yeah, but we're forgetting.
I don't know if I
major
could do
part.
that like that.
Like what Derek said, because times have changed. When Julian was getting disciplined
Oh, no.
to now, times have changed. Everything has changed. What is the cool thing to do on social media? What do you see a lot of people doing?
Flaunt
themselves.
Flaunting God, or that stupid money shit. Or, well, you know what I'm saying? This is what is
Money
cool
on-
right now.
Yeah.
So you gotta look at John Morant, young kid with a lot of money. He's just trying to be cool
Yeah.
on social media. Like
I agree with that.
You know, you look at every rap video. There used to be girls twerking and doing all of this stuff,
Still
and
does.
skippy stuff on.
It still
It's still a little bit, but now there's more guns,
Guns.
there's more
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
People sitting here rapping with a whole thing of cash like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, when I catch you alone, I don't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just today. So now he's trying to look if writing your own novel was the thing to do on social media today. Guess what John Rant we do?
Yeah, we'll be right now. Right.
So
But I think it's also the narrative that we want to put out there, right? Like, I'm very conscious of the narrative that I put out to society. And I'm conscious of it because, like, my kids are going to be following that narrative. I saw a powerful quote one time. There was a guy holding his son. He said, Dad, watch out for your something to the effect of, watch out where you go, because I'm going to be following your footsteps, right? But it's more profound than that. And like that hit me for a moment, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I try to be very conscious of messages that I put out. And when I put it out there, it's coming from here, you know what I'm saying? So I try to be very mindful of that type of stuff, right? So I also think it's about what you're putting out to society, you know what I'm saying? And to the most part, trying to control, like I said, that kid maybe who needs more discipline. At some point, I got to tell that kid, Mom, you need to stop associating with my kid. As much as I want to help your kid is a negative influence on my kid, right? So sometimes I need to, and I've had to do that, once or twice. You know what I'm saying? With neighborhood kids, I had to do that. Your kid, unfortunately, with you, there's too much of an age gap, right? Like, there's different ages, right? I don't want those negative influences. So, like, I'm very aware of things like that, I think that's the only way to do it. If we can, let's quickly talk about that. Let's end on how we either discipline our daughters and our sons, how we potentially discipline them different, and then closing thoughts.
So, I have 4 daughters.
Yeah.
And I will say I probably do have a different approach on how, but not in a bad way. Like, it's not that I'm hitting my sons and not hitting my daughters, but it's like I try to have a lot of conversation with both of my kids about, discipline or really their actions, because I don't feel like I have to discipline. I have conversations and let them know, well, this could be the consequences if you take this road. This could be the actions if you take that road. I try to talk to them based off of my experience of things. But the reason why I have conversations with my daughter, I am a man, and I don't want my daughters thinking that it's okay when there is another man yelling at them. So if I don't teach them that at home, they're not going to think it's okay behavior for them to deal with and everything. So I'm their example. So for me, when I'm disciplining my children, and discipline, it comes a lot with. I definitely have a different approach, and probably the approach I have with my kids, my sons, is probably it's more of a maybe. And maybe I'm thinking, being old school, thinking this, but like, you're a man, so you need to act a certain way, you need to treat women a certain way. Even if my boys end up being gay, which they're not that I know of, but if they did, they're still physically a man or whatever they decide to call themselves and everything. That might be a different topic, but they still need to conduct themselves in a certain way towards women and everything. And I need my daughters to conduct themselves a certain way, around men and everything. So that is discipline. It drives me a little bonkers, not with my children, but when you see women or men that are out in public causing a scene, we don't need to see that. Nobody needs to see that. The other thing I hate to see is, like, I can't see it. It drives me insane. I have 4 daughters, and pretty much was raised by my mother and my 2 sisters. I have an older brother, but he was out of the house before I could remember, and then my dad passed away when I was like 4 or 5 years old. So I'm very pro women, but I'm also very pro children, as far as how we treat our children and how we treat our women and everything. So I do have a different approach.
I think I think I share a lot of what you were saying, just as far as the nuances, right? So easy answer is I don't discipline them any differently, right? Like I don't care if you're a boy or a girl. When you do something that I don't like, I'm going to talk to you one way. Like everybody gets talked to, or both of them get talked to one way. There are life nuances, and I still do that. Like, I'm like Avery. I hope knows that. Yeah, and I'm on the same boat where it's like, I'm all for diversity and equity and equality, I still tell my son to hold the door open for for mom, right? So small things like that aren't going to do any disservice to society, right, or societal views, but they are going to help him as a genuine person, right? So yeah, so right, so and I do think that there is a little bit of, regardless of what you grow up to be and who you grow up to be as a person, I still think that chivalry, there needs to be, and
100%.
there needs to be some chivalry in there, right? And so I do, I talk to, he yells at me, and I react very differently when he yells at me versus yelling at mom or sister, right? So there is that aspect of treating women how they should be treated. There definitely is that. But if somebody breaks, if a door gets broken, I don't care who you are. Like you're gonna get yelled at. And Brooklyn isn't off the hook just because she's a girl either, right? Like there's societal pieces of how to act and how not to act, right? And so she is not gonna skirt by because she's a female, right? Like she's not going to get special treatment per se, like in my household, just because she's a girl.
I wasn't giving anybody special.
No, absolutely. And I didn't interpret it that way either.
See, but I don't know. I'm not. I know I treat my girls different from the way I treat my boys.
Yeah.
I just do. I call on my girls more. Wake up in the morning. Hi, beautiful. Hi, honey. Kiss on the cheek. Kiss on the forehead. And with my son, it's good morning. How are you?
Yeah.
Right.
So
I know that I do it, and I don't want to do it in that regard. But what I do want to do in this regard is that he is going to get treated at a certain age by society different than my daughters.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's my self-awareness, and I didn't have the self-awareness up until a few years ago, going through certain situations. Like, he's going to get treated different.
I will caution you on one thing.
Please do.
And the only reason I say that, to me, you just said, and I know this isn't the truth, but it sounds like you're saying you show your kids love differently. And in my house, because you say, hey baby.
How does it sound like that?
How does it sound like that? Because he nurtures his daughters, and he's he gives his sons tough love.
Because your son is not your daughter.
But
Your
it doesn't
daughter,
matter.
of course, is
Listen,
gonna get a different
my son is
expression.
24 years old. I still kiss him on the head.
This is
Oh,
why
I do that. I still do that. I still do that.
No, but
But what
I hear you. No, I hear you.
I love my kids the same, to where I don't care if their friends are around. And I had this conversation with my oldest son. I said, does it bother you when I kiss you in front of your friends? He told me no. From that day forward, I always kiss my son in front of his friends. I don't care who's around. I give him a hug and a kiss. 24 years old, my 21-year-old daughter, hug and a kiss. No matter what. I love you no matter what.
I hear you, and I still do that. Say again.
No, Brandon.
I want to say something so bad.
Go ahead.
All right, so at my son's graduation, my son is
He's some good stuff right here.
he's a tough guy, right? I just came from his graduation, and looking at him is like I'm in the time warp. It's like looking at myself. Everything about him is,
I felt that the other day.
and everything about him is
It's you.
and younger, just younger. So it's learning how to balance, which I was trying to talk to y'all about earlier, that masculine and feminine energy, especially versus your daughter versus your son. Now, with my son, because he excretes so much anger, right? I'm gonna get him as a man. I'm gonna get him with that feminine energy, because as far as the kiss on his forehead, that's the look, son, I love you. On the outside of this hardness all the time, this display of no emotions I'm always showing you, I'm gonna embrace you a different kind of way. I'm proud of you on the top of his head, not his skin, on the top of his head. I love you. That's that. Under that condition. But as a father to his daughter, like you said, you go in a room to your daughters, you display that soft energy for them, because they're your girl. Your boy, you display more of a masculine energy, because
The world treats them differently. The world's going to treat them differently.
Yeah, you're not the world. And you gotta.
Well, my job is to prepare them for the world.
That's true, but you also gotta let
That's
them know
true. That's true.
that they are your pride and joy.
Absolutely.
See what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
For me, I tell both of my kids that they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're the coolest kids all the time.
facts.
My son, I kiss him, and it's funny because when he was born, I remember telling my wife like, "Damn, when he get like 4 or 5, I can't kiss him no more."
No.
You know what I'm saying? But you gotta think, this when he was a newborn and I'm back in the head. You know what I'm saying? Like, he only got 4 years of this. You know what I'm saying? But
Get it out.
today, yeah, it don't matter if I'm going to take the trash out. I give everybody a kiss before I leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just something that I do. Now, I don't treat them no differently. I don't discipline them no differently. They all get the same level of respect.
I just do.
I thought about that, but listen, it's like this said, and I could kind of like, I would feel that way, like, I'm giving a little bit more and a little bit less. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think, your son's probably watching you from the back, like, hey, that's how you be waking him up every morning and stuff like that. I want to get woken up with a kiss on my forehead and just know that, hey, daddy's here for me.
Yeah.
I ask my son,
Listen,
every morning I ask my son, how'd you sleep? You have a good sleep?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But see,
Every morning,
it's
it's the same
understood
thing.
because
Daughter's
of the bond.
fine.
That's what I was talking about too. The bond. You have to. When your child is born and you're fresh and they out the womb and you spending that time with them, that's that bonding time. When they're babies, that is very important.
Yeah.
When you're looking at them in their eyes and they're looking at you and they're making that connection, that's a bond, that eye-to-eye contact. And you create whatever you guys are going to have between each other in those moments to where you don't even have to talk really.
But we all said it. The world's going to discipline our boys different from our girls.
Yeah.
So Larry counter to that because it's like we're not the world.
Yeah.
Like
So
we are.
but our job is to prepare them for the world.
So let me answer that for you just a little bit. So I'm on your side, you know, because if there's 4 feet of snow outside, I'm getting my son.
No.
Okay, I'm not getting my
I'm
dog.
with you
my
on
son.
that. I do the same
Love
thing.
is totally different from shoveling snow. Let's get that out the way.
Yeah.
But if we're going to treat them the same, my daughters are getting shoveled also, and I didn't do that. And because of masculinity was said and feminist and all that, I understand. Those are my baby and my daughters. You know, I'm putting my hand on that. If I can't do it, no one else will.
Yeah.
My son, get your goddamn sneakers. I don't care.
Yeah.
Socks and nothing. Grab that shovel.
Yeah.
We go and show.
Yeah.
And it's just a difference.
And then we're gonna work out after.
I don't love them any different. Do I kiss them all the same? No. But as a man and a woman's responsibility, and even now we got a woman vice president, I'm quite sure Kamala's not out there shoveling snow.
Yeah.
I almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
She's not shoveling no snow.
But there's a lot of
But
single,
Biden might be.
there's a lot of single women out there that shovel this stuff.
Yeah, absolute single women. But we're
So-
talking about parents like myself and you and me and whoever that has, you know, co-parenting.
But let's just say,
Because you know,
I don't
mom
wanna put it out there, but let's
discipline
just
is
say
different from
their
that.
daughters end up alone in the future. They're not gonna know how to shovel themselves out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I just look at shit like that.
No, you're absolutely right.
So
You're
I feel
absolutely
like
right. But guess what?
it don't matter,
And
boy
this
or
is where-
girl, they need to be taught the same.
Yeah. Like
Exactly. And this is why I always go back and say we gotta show them. We gotta show them instead of them watching us. Now how many times I call Denzel and say, Denzel, come on, we're gonna shovel the snow. My girls can watch me all they want. As being the leader, they're not gonna get out there and shovel the snow unless I don't ask them. But if I show them and say, hey baby, JC, Jayla, grab these, watch how I do it, we're going to do it. I'm gonna show you how to do it.
I wish,
Exactly how to do it.
I wish somebody would have told me that the world treats you differently depending on who
Well,
you
gee, you're going a step
Well, yeah,
further too,
that-
because they
that's-
treat us different just
Yeah.
because of color of our
Yeah,
skin,
exactly.
whether we wear a wig or not. That's just in the world
I
right
think
now.
to Larry's point, it's
You know
like
what I mean?
they're gonna need that rock to come back to. Once the
Absolutely.
world treats them differently, they're gonna need you as the dad to come back and like be like,
Absolutely.
you dad, you are my solace. The world sucks out there. I know that once I come home, I know what I'm gonna get. I know it's love. I know that everybody in my family gets treated the same way. Because you're right, and it's like those pieces of time that I take because it's like I kiss my son all the time too, because he's a more emotional kid than my daughter anyhow. Like my daughter is not like, she's a stoic, right? Like she's got the right brain, like, you know, very logical and in her actions.
Yeah.
My son is very artistic, very emotional, very, like, you know, all about big feels, little body type of person. So I get more emotion and more love from him anyhow than I do my daughter. And if I'm going to be completely transparent, I feel neglected by Brooklyn in that department. So I get it from Avery.
Yeah.
Like, all right, come here. Brooklyn doesn't want to give me
right.
So, but it's like, I'm not worried about like anything masculine, because there are also times where, and if Brooklyn wants it, she can get it too. Where it's like, all right, you want to mess around and you want to like get thrown around and body slam. I'll body slam whoever. If I can pick you up, you're getting body slammed.
Yeah.
And so, well, I was just gonna say, Avery gets more of that because he likes that more. But it's like, you know, we'll like, you know, throw down and like we'll wrestle and like we'll yell, whistle, and like we do all that stuff.
So I kind
still hug him, still kiss him.
I get what he's saying though, because I do something with my daughters now. As they're older, they hate it. But like, I used to punch my daughters, not hard, but just punch them. She'd be like, hit me back.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, Dad, I can't do that. And I'm like, hit me back. I need to know you can protect yourself. Not because I don't want them fighting another girl.
Yeah.
Because there might be a man who treats you in a certain way. And in that quick second of self-defense to either fight or flight, they need to be able to protect themselves. Until they can call dad, or call brother, or call somebody, or call you, G, to call the police, whatever it is they feel that they need to call to become safe. I need them to be able to react to that situation. So I even though I love my daughters, I prepare them, and they'll be like,
That's discipline right
and
there.
Exactly. And they'll be like, Dad, what are you doing? I'm getting you ready. For what? Just in case. They're like, why? You never know why. That's my whole point. You never know why, just to be ready.
2 a.m. grab foghorns, kick down the door.
Not to that extreme. But they know, like my oldest Jordan, she'll be like, no, Dad, get away. Don't start with that. Go do that to Amelia. Or go do that to. But it's like, to me, it's like, you know, I had my sons are taller than me. My daughters are all midgets. You know, so it's like, to me, it's like, you know, I want to make sure they can protect themselves.
Absolutely.
In that short period of time before I can get there, they need to be able to do whatever it takes to protect themselves.
Absolutely. I heard something one day, because I think this came from Steve Harvey. He said, undisciplined boys grow up to be undisciplined men.
That was Steve Harvey.
Undisciplined men end up either a couple places, jail, prison, or the graveyard. So as fathers, part of our job is discipline, right? That's why I wanted to have this episode. So anybody have anything in closing they want to throw out as it relates to your style, discipline, and what that's doing?
There's not one way. There's no one good solution for discipline.
There's no right way.
There's probably no right way. There's many ways to approach things and everything. I couldn't imagine me being who I am, hearing Larry's story. If I know that's the example I'm giving, that's not the way I'm going to react to that situation. No shape, form whatsoever. And then on top of that, if that was my daughter or my son, either one, I could never put any of them through that. I could never do that. And I might have some stern conversations. I might even let them spend the night in jail. But I can't whip them. They might need to learn a lesson somehow, but it's not going to be by me hitting them with a broom or with my hand or something like that. There's another way that I would have to get to my point across. And then when I get, if I ever cross that road, hopefully I go. I wasn't that type of example and everything, but if I was, I can't be mad at you for that.
Yeah.
I'm a very, you know, if I showed you that, then I'm not mad at you and everything. So
Yeah.
that's my fault.
In closing, you know, we had 7 men here, 7 different personalities, 7 different upbringings, probably 7 different ways we were raised.
Yeah.
Probably several different ways we were raised.
Yeah.
You know, there's no real form of discipline. When you look at it in the dictionary, it's going to tell you the dictionary's way. The dictionary's way, probably not even our way and our own right way. Nah, the dictionary's wrong, that's not discipline. We are going to discipline our kids the way we think is
That's right, that's right.
either right or wrong. You know, I was raised where my dad literally beat the shit out of my mom a lot. 52 next month, they'll put a hand on the face. I think, so for me, you know, Jimmy Bennett, I think I did an outstanding, my wife also, we did an outstanding job raising and disciplining our kids. A younger daughter that's on the team, a middle daughter that's on the team.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Son had a great kid,
Good
married,
stuff.
he's doing well. You know, we discipline them well. Far different than probably any of you guys raise your kids. And you guys aren't doing nothing bad at all. None of our kids are in jail. None of our kids are doing something out playing.
You know what's funny is that because you said that about, you know, kissing your son, is that I used to wake my son up in the morning like, Dante, it's time to get up. And I never give him a kiss. But I give my daughters a kiss downstairs in the morning, but I never gave him I never gave him a wake up kiss like that. Now I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start doing this.
Yeah. It might be too late.
Nah.
A lot of my kids walk right up to me like they expect it. They'll walk up to my sons, they're taller than me. Well, is not quite yet. But they'll walk up to me, they'll put their head down, and I'll just.
Yep. They do that. Yep. Yes, take it.
Walk right up.
I was just about to say that when I go.
It ain't nothing wrong with
When I
that.
go home tonight, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna walk in the living room, everybody's gonna do like this. Even my wife.
They gonna put
So that, in that regard, I'm doing something wrong here.
It's not wrong.
No, because I feel because I can see the difference. I can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm thinking like I gotta prepare him. Like I'm only focused on my oldest one right now, Dante. I gotta prepare him for the world. What the world's gonna see him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And believe me, I'm still like, you know, I kiss him on a forehead, but I don't kiss him on the forehead waking him up. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna start doing this.
How do you wake him up again?
Is Dante, time to get up. I shut the fan off. I take the cover off of him. So it's time to get up.
Whistle and all that stuff doing that.
I don't even wake none of my kids up. They all get up for school and everything.
Nah, not with Dante. I gotta wake him up.
At least good morning, son. Rise and shine.
Hey, Carol.
Hey, boy, get up. That trash
but
over there.
that's the military that you.
That's the militant side. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. You know what I'm saying?
Subtle changes, right? Like subtle changes.
But the first thing is awareness.
Yeah.
You know, you're aware of it now, and you try different things, and you know, see what works, see what doesn't.
So in closing, anybody got anything else?
This is good.
I don't even know, did Thomas get his closing in?
Sure, yeah,
You know, my closing is always appreciative of all you guys.
Yeah, man.
You know, for sharing your perspectives. I take this opportunity to learn as much as I can from all the fellow dads here. I'm always trying to learn how to get better. And all of you guys are older than me, so being able to learn from your guys' experiences definitely helps. So I appreciate you guys' time today for sure, and you know, being transparent and open. So thank you.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you all enjoy the Fatherhood Experience as it relates to discipline. Hopefully we see you again on episode number 5. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.